أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Welcome to Always Receiving Noor weekly Quran class. We are continuing to study Surah 19, Mary, and this is our 10th session, session 10 of studying Surah Maryam. And we had left off around ayah 43, I think. We had just transitioned into the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam, Abraham, and initially it looks like it's a jump, from the other stories of Zechariah and Maryam and Mary, and then now as if it's an abrupt switch into Abraham. But actually, it's very befitting because from the beginning of the chapter, there was an emphasis on realizing God's power, an infinite power that cannot be limited by any natural cause or any seeming factor in the creation. So from the very beginning, the surah opened up with invoking compassion of God and invoking His power and inviting us not to take the natural order for granted. That there is orderliness in the world, and there is a protocol in the universe that if you want to have a child, then you need two parents, or if you want to succeed in something, then you need to work at it. But we should not confuse that order with as if these are the real sources of life or power or perfection or beauty. The real source, there's only one source, our creator. So in these different stories, that emphasis was made. So how appropriate it is to transition into Ibrahim alayhi salam, because he is one of the major figures symbolizing Tawheed, oneness of God in the Quran. Is there anybody who wants to share anything from last class? Anything that stayed with you? Okay, so if there is not anything, then we will turn to Sister Yamina to lead us in tonight's session, inshallah. Bismillah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyid al-Mursaleen. So as Isra just mentioned, we're now at ayah 41 of Surat Maryam, where it mentions Ibrahim alayhi salam. And as we mentioned at the end of last meeting, we can see how when we get the point of the stories, of the miracle stories, of the birth of Yahya alayhi salam, John, and Jesus, Isa alayhi salam, then we read them as pointers and reminders of Tawheed and of the fact that everything actually is a result of the divine command. Yes, there is order, but the order doesn't create. The creation is created in a particular order. And so actually when we're aware of that, when we don't take the creation and the results of our actions or of any cause effect for granted, then we can see, and we talked about it, how everything is actually a miracle, at least a miracle of power, and it is an ayah. But because they occur daily, then we take them for granted, and we said, like, if the so-called miracles of the prophets, if they happened more often, we would give them a name and we won't call them miracles anymore. And that's why in the Quran, the word miracle is not used. The same word, ayah, sign, is used for all of them, for what we call ordinary natural events and for the extraordinary miracles, because from one perspective, they are all the result of the divine command, and as such, nothing, even if all causes and all beings were to put their efforts together, as the ayah in the Quran says, they wouldn't be able to create even a fly, or even the wing of a fly, or let's say even an atom, or even like a created atom, we wouldn't be able to sustain it and move it and keep it as it is. So Ibrahim's interaction with his father is mentioned next in Ayah 41, not his miracles, although Ibrahim alayhi salam had miracles, not only the fire miracle, but also the announcement of the birth of the son to his old barren wife. So you would expect, okay, it's all about miracles of birth, let's add one more. But this is not the purpose was not mentioning and listing miracles. The purpose was listing those ayat, I mean the Quranic ayat, were mentioning something that happened, other ayats, that they were all ayats to divine power and mercy. So when we get that, it becomes clear that so far we've been introduced, we've been prepared to understand, to reflect on what genuine Tawheed is truly. Genuine Tawheed meaning a sincere Tawheed, sincere meaning 100%, without any shirk. And I want to remind you that 100% means 100 divided by 100, it means one, whole, one. And so it is not possible to talk about Tawheed 80%, because if it's 80%, it's not truly Tawheed, because we're giving 20% to something else, and just it's not one then. It's not one God, one source of everything. And that's, of course, when we are not basing our belief in God on the evidences that the Quran teaches us to see and observe and witness in the creation around us and within ourselves. في الآفاق وفي أنفسهم. So now, if there is only one single source of creativity and goodness, goodness in the sense of husna, then we can seek help only from Him, only from God, and worship Him alone and nothing besides Him. And so here we start with Ibrahim alayhi salam, the father of Tawheed, and about the significance of worshiping God alone without any shirk. And the first ayah that talks about him, ayah 41, in that ayah he's described as Siddiq, which means truthful, or someone who confirms the truth, who makes tasdeeq. So, Bismillah. واذكر في الكتاب إبراهيم إنه كان صديقا نبيا. And mention in the book Ibrahim, no doubt he has been ever a truthful prophet. And next we are told إذ قال لأبيه يا آبتي لما تعبد ما لا يسمع ولا يبصر ولا يغني عنك شيئا. When he spoke unto his father, so he said, إذ قال, he said to his father, "Oh my beloved father, يا آبتي." He doesn't say Ya Abi, oh father, but oh beloved father. Why do you worship something that neither hears nor sees, and it does not benefit you in any way? So we were told how Yahya and Isa alayhum as-salam were kind to their parents. It was each time emphasized. And we talked about how to be good to, it was not mentioned in the text. We were wondering, so how can we be kind and good to difficult parents? Or sometimes some people have abusive parents, so parents are not always the best parents. Just like the children are not always the best children. And here we have the case of Ibrahim alayhi salam and his idol-worshipping father. So Ibrahim alayhi salam here addresses his father first with affection and respect. We know that because he's saying, Ya abati. From this, there is not only love and affection, but also respect. And right after this respectful address, Ibrahim alayhi salam confronts his father. Like he goes directly into the subject and he tells him why do you worship something that neither hears nor sees, nor does it benefit you? So here, what is interesting is the fact that being respectful does not mean that we don't or we cannot mention the truth. Here, Ibrahim alayhi salam is directly communicating what he knows as the truth. Yes, in the most respectful way, but directly. He's not, how do you say? He's not trying to talk about it, some people worship things that don't indirectly, or he is directly saying, why are you worshiping this?
Or he doesn't dilute it. He doesn't say, maybe it's not the best way. He's not saying that. Imply.
There's no implication. It's directly you. I'm addressing you and your idol worship. Subhanallah. It's very, very interesting. So he's communicating whatever he feels is right in a respectful way, but he's not, because sometimes we try to avoid to hurt people, and so we don't mention it, or we just want to allude to it or something like that. And often, like, just mentioning the situation, mentioning the reality will often hurt people, especially when they are not ready or willing to face the situation. So Ibrahim alayhi salam criticizes actually his father's worship of idols. At the same time, he is offering him a new perspective. In the same ayah, he's saying, when he is asking, why do you worship something that neither hears nor sees nor benefits you, he's actually saying, implying that, have you ever thought, why are you worshiping these things? What do you find in them? How do they help you? Of course, this perspective and this questioning will only help those who are open to the truth. And we'll see that Ibrahim alayhi salam's father is not. But nonetheless, he's going for it, and he's telling him what he knows. And this is something, this ayah is for us right now. We are the one reading it. So for us also, where are our idols? What are we idolizing? So whenever we feel attached to something, when it seems that something is necessary for our happiness, for our success, for our being who we are, it seems like we cannot do without it, then that's a path towards making idols. And so we can ask ourselves, and let's ask ourselves now, does it hear me? Whatever that thing is. Does it see me? It means if it hears me and he sees me, it means, can it help me? That's what it means. Because when I'm in need, I will say something and it will see my condition and it will hear my cry for help. And so, does it benefit me? It says. Can it itself benefit me? And I'm saying itself because sometimes it seems like something is benefiting me, but again, it's like the order. I mean, water benefits me, but water itself, can it benefit me? It knows nothing. It is employed in the giving of life of everything, but it itself doesn't have life. So someone may say, of course we need water. Water does benefit us. But if it cannot see and hear, how does it truly benefit us? So you see the hikmah it's beautiful here, that the hearing and seeing come first before the benefiting, because often that's how we become causes worshippers, idol worshippers. We say, of course, we cannot live without water. Yes, but it doesn't mean that water is the source of life or the source of anything. It is someone is giving us rizq and blessings, blessing us and giving us life and sustaining us by means of water. How do we know? Because water itself cannot do what it's doing. It doesn't even have life. It doesn't think. It can't see. It can't hear. So this is something that we can apply for all kinds of situations, and it's very, very important. This is the gist. This is the essence of Tawheed. It's not enough to say there is only one God, nothing can create anything. That's necessary, but it's not the end, it's the beginning. Now, when it comes to my interaction with everything around me, how does it feel? How do I perceive everything around me? This is very, very important. I remember once I said, we were talking about something related to this, to some Muslim youngsters, Muslim young students. And they insisted, and they said, no, of course there are things that we can't live without. For instance, I thought they would say maybe water or air or something. No, they said money. We can't live without money. And they insisted that money, yes, it can't see us or hear us, but it does benefit us. So what would you say to that? If someone tells you, but I'm sorry, but money benefits us, what would you say? This is a question. I'm waiting for an answer. Maybe someone.
That's a good question. And I hate to follow a question with a question, but the question is, how do we acknowledge our spiritual self when our physical self is threatened?
Meaning
you do need water.
Yes.
Air, food, clothing, shelter.
Yes.
These things are necessities.
Yes, true.
That's the question. The question is, how do we acknowledge our spiritual self when our physical self is threatened?
Sorry, I will answer this way. This is something that we've been repeating, but it's nice that you pointed again to it. Thank you. Now, they're not separate. Just like everything in creation, water is not separate from the spiritual, from meaning. Matter is not separate from meaning. Why? Because it is matter that means, that serves the meaning, that signifies something. For instance, very simple example, if I get a paper with a note written on it, it's all material, but there is a message there. So the problem usually with those youngsters as well is that the reasoning is that I'm a Muslim, I believe in God, therefore everything is created by God. And then when you say, yes, but nothing can create anything, they are all created by God, you say, yes, but like what I see now is I need water. And of course, it's in the perception, because let's go back to what the Quran is teaching us. What is an ayah? I find myself in the world and I find water, and without water, I cannot survive. When I am on my own in a state of ghafla, when I never reflect on my connection and relationship with water, it seems to me that without water, I'll die. Therefore, water is like my source of livelihood and my source of life. The Quran comes and teaches me, tells me, look at the water. We made everything alive from water. Look at water. And in other places it says, look at it. If you put it in front of you, and you call it, and you are very thirsty, and you call at it, it will never answer you, and it will never come close to you. What does it mean? It means this water has no power, has no knowledge, has no life. So I start asking questions like Ibrahim alayhi salam and say, so can it be? Can this water sustain my life? I look at it, there is nothing in it to sustain life. It doesn't have life itself. Can it know, like it doesn't enter only my body or all human bodies. It enters all living, animal, plants, everything, all kinds of earth and everything. And it does act without any mistake in all of them. And then when I start asking those questions under the guidance of the Quran, it becomes clear that either this water is a God, does know everything, all anatomies of all living beings, all molecular structure of all elements, and it has the power to act in them, and it has the power to make everything else subservient to it, and interact with everything else in harmoniously, or else it is clearly acting at the command of someone who knows everything, has control over everything, who is the giver of life, who is the one who is the source of life, who has knowledge and power and everything. And when we look at the first option, it's not possible that this is a God, because I can do with water whatever I want. The poor water can't do anything to me. It has no power, nothing. This is pragmatically, everyone can see that. It doesn't have life, it can't be giving life. So the alternative remains that this is what an ayah means. So in its lifelessness, in its powerlessness, in its having no knowledge, water becomes transparent, or becomes like a mirror reflecting the divine attributes, reflecting that whoever is giving me life and sustaining my life with water is someone who has the power, who has the mercy and the compassion, who has the knowledge, who has the life, and who is the giver of life. And so it becomes an ayah, it becomes a mirror reflecting the divine attributes. We don't go to God directly and we say, the owner of all this, the being who has all these attributes, is God. It is the God described in the Quran. And so when I know God this way, I can come back and drink and use the water, Bismillah, in the name of God, in the name of our Creator, its Creator and my Creator. And my interaction with water becomes a sign, an ayah to rububiyyah. And so I will see that there is no separation between my physical being and my spiritual being. The physicality of this world is actually the ayah, or is the what reflects the divine names, what I wouldn't say built, but what sustains and my spirituality, if I'm using spirituality in a very vague thing, my ubudiyya, let's say. And so we'll see that they are not separate, and that's why I will be able to say subhanaka, and we say ma khalaqta hada batila. So those who reflect on the creation of the heavens and the earth, when they look around them, they say, oh God, you have not created anything in vain, because everything is there to reflect the attributes of perfection, to make tasbih, to glorify their maker. So water, my relationship with water will be a relationship of, I will read the tasbihat of the water, and I will say, Subhanallah, Subhanallah al-Hayy, al-Muhyi. He's I will echo the glorification of water and repeat them and confirm them. And then I would have witnessed, made the shahada to truly, there is no God except God. There is no deity, nothing worth worshipping or asking help from except God, which means I can put all the divine names. When I say La ilaha illallah, I can say La muhyiya illallah. There is no giver of life except God. There is no powerful except God. There is no one who knows anything except God. Why? How do I know that? Because whatever knowledge to me is itself a mirror, is itself an ayah pointing to the one single source of knowledge. How do I know that he is the giver of life? Because everything used in the nourishing and sustaining of life is an ayah, is like a pointer indicating the only source. It is like a mirror mirroring the divine attributes. Does it make sense?
Yes, Assalamu alaikum. So the answer to the youth is there is no separation between your rububiyyah and your compound, your physical self. That your need is an ayat. That would be the answer to the youth.
Yeah. So money is, in itself, money can't do anything. And like if there was no food created out there, there would be, money would mean nothing. I would have nothing to buy. If there was no one sustaining my breathing right now, all the money in the world will do nothing to me. So money is like everything else, just a means. But because I start with, I take for granted, God for granted, then I come back and I'm stuck in shirk. And I can't see, it's because, as you said in the beginning, they are necessities. But through those necessities, we will go back and find God. Then, inshallah, there will be no shirk. And that's the genuine tawheed, as Imam Badi'u Zaman Said Nursi described it, not superficial tawheed. God is powerful over all things. He created over everything. Okay, it's good to start with, but you can't stay there. The genuine tawheed is from the creation, from our experience in the world, from the ayat to the divine names, to God, to the owner of the divine names. And so next he says,
Sister Yamina, if I can
sure.
just add something here. I really appreciate the question that Jalila asked and your answer to it, because personally I've been thinking about this question actually this past week. The question about needs, and you know, it looks like we need water and air, but we actually only need God. Like, what does that mean? And I think that's precisely the challenge, because there is initially it looks like we need water. There is initially some kind of if we are not careful, there's, I don't want to say a trap, but if we're not careful, and if we are thinking superficially without the cues from the Quran, then of course, I mean, it looks like I need water, because if I don't drink, then I can die. If I don't breathe, of course I need breathing. Of course, it's my lungs who makes me breathe, right? All of these things. And I think this is very important, because when we look at these references in the Quran about idol worship, then we get to relate to what's going on, because otherwise it looks like these people worship stones and I wouldn't worship a statue, so I'm done. Like
again and again in the Quran, like it's almost like an arrogance on my part, like I am above idol worship. Or these primitive people, like that's how we learned at school. In older days, they used to worship idols, and then they became more sophisticated.
I mean, yes, and even as a kid, I didn't used to understand, because even as a kid, you're like, yeah, that's so, retarded. Why would they worship stone? And Abraham had a very good argument. He said, these are just stones. And then they wanted to burn him. What's up with them? Of course, we're not like them. But then there is that initial, like, if we are not careful, there is that temptation that, of course, if I don't drink, I'm going to die. If I don't eat, I'm going to die. Of course, I need these things. And then that invites us into a journey. Okay, it looks like I need water, as you have just beautifully recapped again. Of course it looks like I need water, because if I don't drink, things don't happen well, I can die. But then you go into a journey like, well, water seems to be giving me life, but it is the same water that drowns me and kills me. Even when I beg, it doesn't seem to care about my needs, actually. But I think it's meeting my need. And also, then it seems like it gives me life, but itself doesn't have life. What's going on here? And then as we dig deeper, then we realize that water itself is not, as you have explained, it cannot be the life giver. So then, as we get to deeper understanding and seeing water as an ayah, then we can, at the end of that process, as we see water or food as a sign to the real life giver, the real nurturer, nourisher, then we can say, it would be okay to say, I need water because my creator gives me life through water. And in that sense, you're saying, of course, I live in this world, and my creator gives life through water. So I need to drink water. I need to eat my vitamins, or I need to do this. But not because these things themselves are the source for life or nurturing or well-being or success or anything or happiness, but because this is the way my creator gives life, or gives these qualities.
Yes.
And that's very important.
Then acting Bismillah becomes very significant and very important. That's why Bismillah is so important.
And it's everywhere, from driving the car to drinking a glass of water, it's everywhere, because in everything, what is happening?
This point. And I wanted to add something. Thank you, Isra. When you said water is a sign and food is a sign, which is true. However, Imam Nursi makes particular emphasis, which I found extremely significant and important, which is, it is my relationship with the water, my need for the water, my thirst and water together, that is the truly the ayah. Because when I'm in a state of ghafla, it may seem like water is an ayah, but that's why it doesn't go anywhere, because I'm not aware of my relationship with it. And that's why I take it for granted that, of course, I need water. I can't live without water. And so in that unconscious state, the two remain, belief in God and my relationship with water remain totally separate and independent. And claiming that it's an ayah becomes only a claim. Particularly says that it is my need for something, that the relationship between the two, it's my need for water that makes water so significant for me. It is my need for food that makes food a blessing, a ni'mah, and makes it food. If I didn't have hunger, didn't have a stomach, if I didn't have a need for food, food would be just, there would be no word for food. So it's the need, as we usually say, is the key to the blessing, and it is the key to reading the signs. So we cannot isolate them, as Jalila just said. In answer to the youngsters, we will tell them that you have a need for that, and it is my need for water, my need for money. Actually, money is not even real, because my need for money means my need for many other things, and money is just a means to acquire those necessities. Then we won't go into shirki reasoning, and we will use them, Bismillah, in the name of God, and that's when all our living, as it says in that verse, whether they are standing or those who reflect in the creation, the process of creation, and say, you have not created anything without meaning and purpose, those people, whether they are standing or lying down or sleeping, whatever they are doing, everything becomes ibadah for them. Why? Because if we truly drink water, Bismillah, that's ibadah, because that's participating in the glorification of God, getting to know Him better, getting to closer to Him, and being more grateful. The more you like whatever you're eating or drinking, or whatever you're seeing, the more you are grateful to what they are pointing to, because you learned to see beyond. You learned to listen and hear the glorifications of all the creation. So it becomes just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And if, just in case we forget, the time of prayer is a reminder. And for those who do not forget, the time of prayer becomes a time of mi'raj, as the Prophet ﷺ says. Salatu mi'raj al-mu'min, the ascension of the believer. Why? Because he's been living in between the prayer. He's living this state of communication with the creation in the name of God, therefore worshiping God, being a abd, experiencing his ubudiyah and appreciating the rububiyah. And therefore, in time of the prayer, when you are in the presence of God, then you just fly. And the sajda is truly a sajda of a prostration of gratitude and of awe in front of our so merciful, so beneficent Rabb. Alhamdulillah. Back to Ibrahim alayhi salam. In the next ayah, in ayah 43, he says, Bismillah, يا أبتي إني قد جاءني من العلم ما لم يأتيك فاتبعني أهديك صراطا سويا. He says, "Oh, my beloved father," again, Ya Abati, "behold, there has indeed come to me min al-ilmi, some knowledge such as has never yet come unto you. Follow me then, I shall guide you onto a perfect way, onto a wholesome, good way." And this word here, sawiya, was used before for, in the case of Zakaria alayhi salam, in the case of Maryam alayhi salam, when it was used to describe Jibreel alayhi salam, and now it is describing the path that Ibrahim alayhi salam is calling his father to. This is very, very unusual situation, because here we have the son, not only he's criticizing his father, but he's also claiming to know what his father doesn't know. I mean, how can the younger one knows what the older one knows? Now we are a little bit maybe used to, but only in very specific matters. Like if my son is a doctor, okay, he can know what I don't know in medical field. But in life, we don't usually take that easily. It's not easy to hear your child saying, "I know what you don't know." Not only that, but he wants to guide his father. "Follow me." And he said, "Follow me." He wants his father to follow him. Subhanallah. How many Muslim parents would listen to their children, or even younger ones, not their children, but someone much younger, talking this way, saying, "I know what you don't know, and if you follow me, I'll guide you." And especially when it comes to the truth, and if it's about the way we're traveling somewhere, everything is okay. There's no ego there. But when it comes to knowing God, it's very, very difficult. However much respectful these children or these youngsters are, traditionally, they're not supposed to address their elders in this way, even if they have a point, even if what they're saying is the truth. So there's something here to be to reflect on. Truly seekers of haqq, seekers of the truth, then does it matter where it's coming from? And so we wouldn't be stuck into the relationship, the status between the people, but what is said. Because if we're stuck into status, we are again, it means status have been idolized, become an idol. It's important. So like not only in the Muslim community, but like in most communities, we have unspoken or spoken hierarchies, and especially when it comes to religious knowledge, and especially when it comes to truth, it's age is important, and gender is important. So age is important, but only it starts with men, older men, younger men. Women, I don't know. I don't even know if women would be if anyone would, you can say whatever you want, maybe, but like who will take you seriously? And this is not only a man perception. I'm talking about the whole community, especially in the Muslim community, especially when it comes to religious knowledge. You don't expect the child to guide the parents, and generally speaking, the shuyukh means men, and younger men maybe, but women, no. But in this surah, it's clear that wisdom is given. It is given to those who are willing to receive it, and honor it by living with it. And those are described as the muhsins. So clearly, it is not a function of time, and it is not a function of gender. It's not given according to how old you are, or if you are a man or a woman. And just like, remember Yahya alayhi salam, who was wise as a small boy, we were told, and Maryam alayhi salam, who was blessed since childhood. So not only, so wisdom has nothing to do with status. And I think this is, there is only one way to confirm this, and it's when the ego is not involved, and the ego is not involved to the extent that we have surrendered to our Rabb. If we are abd, ibad, then nothing is from us. We witness that everything is given unto us. But when we are in state of ghafla, when we forget, it seems like I know better, or I have more experience. Okay, you may have more experience, but doesn't mean that in a particular situation you know the truth better. Because as Yaqub alayhi salam, Yusuf's father, said when he was told, when he told them, when they brought the shirt and put it on his face, and before they put it on his face, he said, I smell Yusuf. And he said, how come, like when he was close, you didn't know about him, now how come you felt it? And he says, we only know what God makes it known to us, which is the truth for everyone, not only for him. And the next ayah 44, we Ibrahim alayhi salam, again addressing his father as Ya Abati. He says, Ya Abati, la ta'budi ash-shaytana, inna ash-shaytana kana lir-rahmani asiya. Oh, my beloved father, do not worship Satan, for truly Satan is a rebel against the most merciful. So now Ibrahim alayhi salam is directly telling his father, do not do this, do not worship Satan. There was, why do we worship idols? You know, I have some knowledge that you don't have. If you follow me, I'll guide you. And now it's like, do not, la ta'bud. So when I read this, it made me pause, because at first it sounds okay because of the Satan part, because he's saying, do not worship Satan. But like, if we forget about what he is telling him not to do, think about this statement, do not do something, from a son telling his father not to do something. It may sound, I don't want to say outrageous, but like, it's almost outrageous. Like, how can a son say, do not do this and that? Of course, because do not worship Satan, we say, of course, it's the haqq, it's the truth. But it's not so from the father's perspective, that's not the case. From the father's perspective, it's the other way around. It may seem like a heavy accusation, because as far as he's concerned, the father is worshipping idols. But Ibrahim alayhi salam knows that worshipping idols is a trick of Satan, so he's telling him, do not worship Satan. So I'm just thinking, if I were worshipping idols not, as Isra mentioned, not in the sense of having small statues and worshipping them. You know, some people, we can put all our efforts and in a career. Career is all that matters to me, in making money, in getting this or that. It can be so many things. We have so many idols. and says, do not worship Satan directly, it's very, very heavy. Of course, here, Ibrahim alayhi salam is aware that what does it mean to make an idol? It means to attribute the divine qualities to anything or anyone other than God. If I think that I need water itself to survive, that water is the source of my life, I am making water into an idol. Why? Because I'm attributing the divine qualities of giving life, of sustainer, to the water rather than God. And so by implication, it is here equivalent to worshipping Satan. And Satan symbolizes in the Quran wrong reasoning coming from ghafla, and ingratitude. As a result, I may not intend to be ungrateful, but when I am drinking water, especially if I'm very thirsty, I say, oh, water is so nice. And all my appreciation goes to the water rather than to the creator of the water, to the one who is feeding me with the water, the one who is nourishing and sustaining me with that water. So instead of saying, oh, alhamdulillah, look at how he's fashioned me with this water, and we become friends with water, friends because we are both created by the same creator, or the siblings, like Imam Nursi says, إخواننا الكائنات, he says, our siblings, all the creation is our siblings. We act all in the name of the same Rabb. And so Satan symbolizes this rebellion against his creator. If we do this intentionally, it becomes really a rebellion. Note here that the word Satan in Arabic is shaitan in the Quran, and it is derived from the verb shatana, which means to become or to be or to become. Shatana, he was or he became remote from the truth. So it's a sign that everything, like a thought, a word, a belief, a behavior, whatever, that takes us away from the truth pertains to shaitan. What we're doing when we are going away from the truth is shatana. And accordingly, every conscious act of going against the truth will be a worship of Satan. Here, worship of Satan in the sense that we're listening to Satan's whispering. We're following into his steps. So back to Ibrahim alayhi salam, I found like telling his father, do not worship Satan. I found it like, forget about our parents. Can we speak like this to our friends, to our siblings even like someone younger than us? Subhanallah. Like our sense of respect and caring is so different. That's what I found about myself. My sense of respecting, because he's clearly very respectful, because he's saying, oh, my beloved father. However, what he's saying to me, if someone told me something like that, I would be like, so heavy, so difficult to bear, to accept. Even if I know deep down that's the truth, it would take me a while to get over it and actually appreciate what's going on. So I asked myself, like, why? Like, why is my sense of respect and caring so different from Ibrahim alayhi salam's? And I thought maybe because we don't fully realize how truly, truly, truly very, very important. It is to worship God alone. Which means to worship God alone means that everything to see, to interact, to perceive, everything is an area. It means that I see his face, the face of God in everything. It means when I look at things, I see how they are reflecting and mirroring the divine attributes. And this is so, so important in this life and for the consequences in the next. And so if I'm not fully aware of the importance of worshiping God alone, the importance of genuine tawheed, so we do not dread the awful consequences of shirk and idol worship. And as I said, this idol worship we could be idolizing money, power, titles, career, fame, family. It could be many at the same time, it could be different for different people. But wherever Tawheed is not complete, there is some shirk, either openly or more hidden. And so if we truly lived with Tawheed, then we would truly appreciate how important it is. Because we need help, we need sustenance, we need the rahmah, we need the compassion. And when we are not seeking it from its only single source, it means we're seeking it somewhere else. Why do people spend all their life on a career? Because they're expecting some reward from it. They're expecting some satisfaction, some happiness, something from it. And they're not aware that they cannot find it there. And it does not mean that you leave your career, but you do not worship it. You are not attached with it. You do not perceive it as the source of something. Like the water example. And so the consequences of this shirk is like awful, because in this world we won't be satisfied. The human heart and the soul will never be satisfied, because nothing has the power to give us what we're expecting. And in the next life, the eternal life, in Akhirah, it will be even worse, because we will see the truth of what we were doing. Here we can hide it to ourselves when we're in a state of ghafla. But Ibrahim alayhi salam he dreads the consequences of the shirk that he sees his father in. And he says in the next ayah 45, يا أبت إني أخاف أن يمسك عذاب من الرحمن فتكون للشيطان وليا. Oh my beloved father, I dread that the punishment from the most merciful befalls you, and then you will become aware of having been close unto Satan. It will be too late. When you will be aware, you will become aware that actually you were a friend of Satan. Subhanallah. Because of his awareness, he sees what his father is missing and what he's getting into himself into. Then he cannot afford, like we do. We think we are being caring and respectful, but actually he is truly caring. He cannot afford to sugarcoat what he's saying. That's why he's firm. Ibrahim alayhi is firm in his message, but without arrogance, because his motive is compassion. He genuinely wants the good of his father. He's not boasting his knowledge. So far from what we've seen from Ibrahim alayhi salam towards his father is an attitude of respect and compassion. He's acting out of compassion. And why is he saying the truth as it is? Because there's no other way. If someone, it's like in surgery, you can't say, okay, there is a tumor that if you don't take out will kill the person. We will say, but if I operate on this person, they will feel there will be a wound, it may be painful, so how can we just put some cream on top of it so that the person doesn't so we don't hurt them? But meanwhile we're truly hurting them, or it will only mean that I'm not a doctor, I'm not a physician, I'm totally ignorant of the need of that person or of the severity of his sickness. And here he says, Ibrahim alayhi salam says to his father, أَخَافُ أَنْ يَمَسَّكَ عَذَابٌ مِّنَ الرَّحْمَنِ. So he says, I dread that the punishment from the most merciful will befall you. So it's interesting, like God is a Rahman and he describes him as a Rahman, as the most merciful, yet there will be a punishment. How is this possible? Because remember, we said when we are in a state of shirk, we're not conscious of being abd to our Rabb. When we are in a state of shirk, we do benefit from Rahmah and from God's blessings. He's sustaining our life, our breathing, and everything, but we attribute them to things themselves, to causes, to the water itself, to the air, to my lungs, to my health. We have explanation for everything because everything happens, is given to us through some order, some causes. And so we ourselves deprive ourselves from God's endless mercy. Because it's water. I need water, and water is going to save me. And that's why in hell, people will be told, okay, here's the water, and they will drink and drink, and their thirst will only increase. Why? Because there it will be like, here is the water itself. Water here quenches our thirst, bi'idhnillah. That's how they were created, because water itself does not know how to quench my thirst, does not know how to act in my body, even in my physical body, does not have emotions, so it gives me that sense of relief when I'm very thirsty and drink water and I feel good and I feel grateful. Has nothing to do with water. In this life, it's like we put the light on. There is a switch. When we put the switch on, the light is there. Why? Because whoever built, like in my home, it's a switch. But I know I was visiting in a place, and the owner had left me a note because there were no switches around. So there was only a remote control, and in that house, the remote control controls all the lights. And so it's neither the switch nor the remote control that make the light. They have nothing to do with the light. The light is produced outside the house. It's coming to the house. If you don't pay for your bill, you won't have it. But we say, yeah, but without switch, there will be no light. Therefore, we need the switch. Okay, the switch is part of the order. It's part of how light was supposed to come to you. And so if we see water that way and all the other blessings that way, in a shirki way, we stuck into them. There are so many things that those things cannot give us. And that's why the human heart will feel the void, will feel the emptiness, will feel the fear, where the like it says in the Quran, like falling into an abyss, like falling into part, and nothing is there to sustain us. And this is especially we can see it when there is something like an earthquake or a big accident or something like that. People are in shock, and suddenly all the order that we took for granted, suddenly it's not there, and there is nothing to rely on, and we feel the void, and we feel that there is nothing to ground us. So why is it the Rahman? Not because when we are in a state of shirk, we ourselves disconnect ourselves from the source of Rahmah, and so we deprive ourselves from God's endless mercy. And in this situation, when we're doing that, we're following in the steps of Satan, against whom we've been warned many times in the Quran. So there are here two references to Shaitan. One is Ibrahim alayhi salam tells his father not to worship Shaitan. So it's understood that worshipping idols boils down actually to worshipping Shaitan. And the second here is, if you carry on in this way, then not only you will be deprived of Rahmah, but also you will wake up, let's say you will suddenly become aware that you were a friend, close friend of Satan. It's really scary. We don't want to be in that. No one wants to be in that position, not when it's too late. We want to realize this here when we can do something about it. In the Quran, we are again and again warned not to follow in the steps of the Quran, of Shaitan. Why? Because he is an enemy. Actually, he is an open enemy. We told Aduwan Mubina, especially in Surat Yasin. How many times we told that? Truly, Satan is an enemy in 35:6, ayah 35:6 to you. So treat him as an enemy. And because of that, we are warned against Satan, and we are asked to seek refuge with God. Like in Surat Al-Nahl, Surah 16, we told when you read the Quran, seek إذا قرأت القرآن فاستعذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. That's why we say استعيذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. When you read the Quran, seek protection from Satan, the rejected one. What was the regime? Anyway, let's say rejected because I can't remember the word for regime. No power has he over those who believe and put their trust in their Lord, in their Rabb. His power is only over those who take him as friend, as patron, as wali, and give him a share with God's divinity. Subhanallah. So how do we make isti'adah? We are told, like, it's not just when we say استعيذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم, we are remembering. But if we never learned how to truly make isti'adah, how to truly seek refuge with God from shaitan, then I will say the word, but it will remind me nothing. And here it's saying Why? Because why do we seek protection from Satan with God? Because he has no power. إنه ليس له سلطان على الذين آمنوا. He has no power over those who believe. If you believe, if you are in that state of conscious belief, he has no power over you. وعلى ربهم يتوكلون. Those who truly believe, they will trust in God only. We won't trust the money or the power or the title or the water, or although the water will come, whatever. I don't know if Allah will bring his help and blessing through water or through whatever. What matters is that he is our sustainer, he's our Rabb, and we place our trust in him only. Otherwise, the belief is not complete. So you see the beautiful, the hikmah, the wisdom. Those who believe in God and therefore trust in and on their Lord. The taqdeem here, the fact that it's coming before, is an emphasis, which means they trust God alone, their Rabb alone, their sustainer alone. And it says, so he has power over whom then? His power, which means Satan's power, is only on those who themselves befriend him. They befriend him. They take him as a friend, as a patron. How? They follow in his steps. They start thinking in the way he thinks and perceiving everything in the way he perceives. It's a state of mind, a state of being. وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ بِهِ مُشْرِكُونَ. And because they follow his path and befriend him, then they make him a partner with God. It means they give him power. They give God's attribute to him. Him here, Satan, is not like some entity on its own. The shirk way is, remember, shatana is to go away from to become remote from the truth. Anything that takes us from haqq, from the truth, will be the way of shaitan. And in Surah Al-A'raf, Surah 7, we are told, if a suggestion, وَإِمَّا يَنزَغَنَّكَ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ نَزْغٌ فَاسْتَعِذْ بِاللَّهِ إِنَّهُ سَمِيعٌ عَلِيمٌ. The Sami' Alim comes from this ayah. If a suggestion from Satan comes to your mind, doubts, or truly God gives everything, but come on, like without money, you can't live here on earth. And it's shaitan those who believe and trust God, they can't. If I truly learned how to believe in God, this won't sway my belief. Why? Because of course it is true. No one can tell me, but you need water. Without water, oh come on, my God. Yes, God creates everything, but you need water to survive. I will laugh because I know that God is my Rabb through the water. So I will laugh. But if I have not learned that, if I do not truly believe and trust in God alone, then he will bring suggestions like this, like, but come on, water. And the suggestions in the beginning are not bad in themselves, because they make me question and ask questions and actually understand the significance of and the importance of the message of the Quran. But if I take them at face value without questioning and just follow blindly in the steps of Satan, then those suggestions becomes like my reality. So if a suggestion from Satan comes to you, seek refuge with God, for he is Sami'un Alim. He's all hearing, all knowing. Those who fear God, when a thought of evil from Satan assaults them, bring God into remembrance. فَإِذَا هُمْ مُبْصِرُونَ. This is, I really love this. Then, lo, they see everything. So Shaitan brings something to our awareness, and then we remember God, تذكروا. So they remember God, and then they start seeing the truth, the reality again, and Shaitan can't touch them. So the isti'adha, how to make isti'adha, is explained in the Quran. And when we repeat it, we say it with words in order to remember what we learned it was. And part of it is belief. And we have to have learned what believing in God and trusting Him only means. And of course, we all know that Satan's job is to mislead humans by making up idols. Anything that stands in our way to God is an idol. So what he is doing is misleading us, misguiding us from the path that takes to the only one God. And when he's misleading us into the many paths of shirk. And the paths of shirk are the paths of making idols. Because we give the qualities of God to other things, knowingly or most of us are unknowingly. And when we are unaware, it becomes easy to buy into Satan's deception. But it's up to us to not follow him by consciously following the divine guidance. And so we are told again and again in the Quran, for instance, in the passage in Surah 15, Satan said, "Oh my Rabb, قال ربي, give me then respite until the day of يوم يبعثون, until they are raised." It means until the day of judgment, of resurrection. And God said, respite is granted to you until the day of the time appointed. إلى يوم الوقت المعلوم. So Satan again said, "Oh my Rabb, because you have put me in the wrong," and I won't go into it, but we talked once about it, how Satan accuses God that you put me in the wrong. He doesn't look at himself. He's the one who made the wrong decision, to make the wrong choice, because he was so full of himself. But we do this a lot. This is all these things about Satan tells us about things that we ourselves do. We make the wrong choice, and instead of taking responsibility, if we don't take responsibility, we can't change it. No, we either openly say, "Oh God, why did you put me in this situation?" Or we blame everything else except my choice. And it could be that other things are involved, but I'm only responsible for my choice, and I can only change my choice. I can only pray through my intention, my decision. And so to blame things that are in the creation is again blaming Qadar, blaming the creation, therefore the creator, unknowingly, and it doesn't lead anywhere. And that's why we repeat the same things, the same patterns, again and again and again, just because we don't want to take responsibility. I don't want to say that, yes, I was wrong, or right now I am wrong. So what if I'm wrong? When I am not guided, if it were not for divine guidance, I would be wrong all the time. I wouldn't know what right is. So those who surrender onto their Rabb, it's easy for them to accept when they do something wrong, because they're aware that when I'm right or when I'm rightly guided, I'm guided. It's not from me. So Shaitan says, because you, meaning God, you put me in the wrong, I will make wrong fair seeming to them on earth, means to people, and I'll put them all in the wrong. لأغوينهم. I don't know how to translate that. بما أغويتني لأزينن لهم في الأرض ولأغوينهم أجمعين. All of them. He wants to mislead everyone. Except, but there is except, إلا عبادك منهم المخلصين. Except your servants, your ibad, your worshippers, among them who are sincere and purified. And so God said this way, this is a straight path, or this is like indeed a straight path. It means a path that leads to God. For over my servants, no power, you will have no power except on those who put themselves in the wrong and follow you. And you see, like, it's not, oh my God, like this, Satan now pledged to mislead everyone, but he also knows. He said, except your servants, those servants of you who are sincere, like 100% surrendering to you only, those ones, I can't touch them. Okay, God says deal, because you have no, yes, like he agrees, you have no power whatsoever over my servant. You have power only onto those. It means Satan has no power, because it seems like he has power, but the power is only on those who themselves come to him and give him power. And in some other verses, it's clearly they give him power over themselves. And another place in the Quran, in again Surat Al-A'raf 7, Surah 7, from 16 to 18, he said, because you have thrown me out of the way, I will lie in wait for them, like, like in an ambush on the straight way. I will wait on the straight way to deceive them. Then I will assault them from before them and from behind. So from everywhere, from their right and from their left. So Shaitan can come in the form of everything. All kinds of ideas that come. And how is it possible to know, is this from Shaitan or is this haq? When we ask the question, is this Shaitan? Then we'll find it's easy. But of course, who will ask the question? Those who are aware. We have to intend to ask the question. Those who are in a state of ghafla will follow blindly. And then he carries on, he says, nor will you find in most of them gratitude. So what matters the most is gratitude. And Shaitan will use that part of us that wants to complain about everything, that wants to pity themselves. There's part of us that enjoys self-pity, although it leads nowhere. And that, unless we consciously make istighfar for it, Satan is going to exploit that weakness of us, because he says we will find that most of them are not grateful or not grateful enough. And we can only be grateful to the extent that we truly believe in God, to the extent that we see that everything is an ayah, to the extent that I'm aware that this water, that God is feeding me sustaining my life with this water. To that extent, I can be grateful to him. Otherwise, I'll be grateful to water. So shirk cannot go with worshipping God, and worshipping God is about being grateful to God alone. And so God said to Satan, get out from this disgraced and expelled. If any one of them follows you, hell will be filled with them. But it's not easy to follow him because it's so clear. Like when we are conscious and humble enough to acknowledge our reality of being totally dependent on our Rabb and to surrender unto him, and to therefore see that if I am so clueless, so weak, and all my needs are being taken care of, excuse me, but this water can't be doing it alone. So I ask, how come? How come I need this water? But when I am arrogant, when I am not aware of my neediness and my own ubudiyah, it doesn't come, I don't question the status of water. And so when we truly surrender to God alone, then Satan cannot delude us because his tricks are very cheap. They can only work on the already deluded. And that's why all Satan can do is only bring doubt to people's minds, and it's only going to work for those who are already unclear, already thinking wishfully, not clearly, already assuming that water can give them life, for instance. Those may fall prey to his lure and follow him without any resistance. And in Surah 34, ayah 20 and 21, we're told, and on them Satan proved true his idea, and they followed him. وَلَقَدْ صَدَّقَ عَلَيْهِمْ إِبْلِيسُ ظَنَّهُ فَاتَّبَعُوهُ إِلَّا فَرِيقًا مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. So Satan proved true his idea, and they followed him. Of course, it's how Satan, for instance, proves that we need water. So if you don't drink water, you see what will happen to you. This doesn't prove anything. It's like saying, if the bulb breaks, you will see that you will have no light in your house. Therefore, the light makes light. This is false reasoning. But for instance, this is not the only way. I'm just saying, there are so many ways to delude and deceive people. And on them, Satan proved true his idea, and they followed him, all except those who believed. He had no power over them, except that we might test وما كان عليه من سلطان إلا لنعلم من يؤمن بالآخرة ممن هو منها في شك. Except so that we test, so that we know who truly believes in Akhirah, in the life to come. And Akhirah is not only the life to come, but in this world, we see the aspect that looks to God, that looks to the divine name, therefore, that looks to the eternal divine name, therefore, that aspect of creation that looks to eternity, to Akhirah. We see it here, not after we die. We have to believe so that we know who among them truly believes in Akhirah and who among them are in doubt concerning Akhirah. وَرَبُّكَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ حَفِيظٌ. And your Rabb, your Lord, your Sustainer, watches over everything. He keeps everything. Nothing will be forgotten or lost. But then we are told in another ayah, but Satan, ayah in Surah 17, ayah 64, 65. But Satan promises them nothing but deceit. As for my servant, no authority you shall have over them. Enough, your Lord, your Rabb is enough. وَكَفَى بِرَبِّكَ وَكِيلًا. He is enough as a sustainer, the disposer of affairs. And what is interesting is on the day of judgment, Satan will declare, behold, God who promised you the truth, God promised you the truth, and I too promised you, but I deceived you. Yet I had no power over you except that I called you and you responded to me. Then do not blame me, but blame yourselves. It is for me to answer your cries. It is not for me. I cannot, it means, answer your cries, nor can you answer mine. I reject your former acts of shirk, associating me with God as a partner with God. For the Dhalimin, for wrongdoers, there is a grievous suffering. This is Shaitan himself. What does it mean? That means right now If we stop and remain and intend, means we wake up from that ghafla, we will be able to confirm all these ayats. We will be able to see this, all this. And so the situation is very serious, and that's why Ibrahim alayhi salam is so direct to his father. Although he's so respectful, but it is out of compassion that he's direct. And in the beginning, I was like, isn't that too much? Like, who would say this, especially when it's your own parent, your own father? I wouldn't even say, wouldn't be able to say this to anyone. But then why? Because there is no clarity about the gravity of the situation. Inshallah, let's stop here. And there are so many points to reflect upon until next week, inshallah. So next week, we'll start from ayah 46, inshallah. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعواهم أن الحمد لله أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت
Wahab.
إنك أنت No, it doesn't feel. Subhanallah, astaghfirullah. استغفر الله استغفر الله استغفر الله العظيم الكريم الرحيم الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم ونتوب إليه سبحانه لله الفاتحة. Inshallah, let's always, as we end with Fatiha and praying for each other. Inshallah. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Yamina. Jazakallah khair. And thank you everyone for joining us tonight. And inshallah, let's continue the reflection into the week and into the next class next week. If you have any comments, any questions regarding today's session, just before you forget, take notes so you can share in the beginning of next meeting, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum